We're a pleasure to have Jon Green, who is the Vice President of One Call for All, WAVE for everybody, and also the Executive Director, Tracey Denlinger. Did I say it right, Tracey? Denlinger. And she's been the Executive Director for going on 6 years now, right?
5 years.
Oh, 5 years. 5 years. Yeah. So anyhow, and I think you all are familiar with One Call for All. I think I know that I donate to the Senior Center and many other nonprofits through One Call for All. And I just want to share one thing before I let you guys go, because you're the stars today, is that I remember moving to the island and getting off the ferry and looking to my left, and I saw a big banner and it said One Call for All. And I'm like, what is that? Oh, look at that. Jon is holding up the envelope. And so I looked it up, and it's an umbrella organization. And I thought, this is fantastic, because I will not get individual envelopes from all these different nonprofits. I could just do it all at once. And I just was so excited about it. And every year, at the end of the year, Bob and I sit down with the list, and we go over, and it's a ritual that we decide, you know, how much we're going to give to each one of the organizations that we love. And I love you guys. And so please take it away. Thank you for being here.
We'll go with this. This is me now.
Nice. Nice.
I have all sorts of props today.
Yeah, I've got some props too, since I'm in the office. So thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for inviting us. And, you know, I've actually been watching a lot of these on YouTube and on Facebook, and it's been a great way. I haven't participated, but it's been a great way to learn about a lot of stuff going on the island. And I watched Peacock Family Services, which I love that you all were interested in what that organization was doing. And I watched when Kirsten Haitopoulos came on, and several others. So anyway, thanks for including us. The invitation came at a really perfect time, because we just had our August board meeting. And one thing that's kind of behind the scenes that not everybody knows, but the One Call for All Red Envelope campaign runs all year round. And it starts on August 1st and it ends on July 31st. So our August board meeting was just day before yesterday. And so we wrapped up the 2019-2020 campaign. So I have a lot of stats and fun, impressive numbers to share with you. So just by way of background, the Senior Center is obviously one of our most beloved organizations on this island and is very connected to One Call for All. So I know that many of you are frequent donators to the Senior Center and also to your other favorite organizations, as Karen just mentioned. But we are a 60-year-old organization. We were incorporated in 1960. So this is kind of a momentous year for us. We raise money for all nonprofits on the island that wish to participate. Our threshold for participation is very low. Basically, we accept all comers. If you're a nonprofit, according to the IRS and according to the Secretary of State in the state of Washington, and you serve Bainbridge Island in some way, you can participate. For many years, our list would grow and grow and grow. So Karen was on the board in 2002. I would imagine there were in the 50s, maybe 58, 59 organizations, and currently we have 125. We're going to stay at about 125 for this next fall's campaign as well. We haven't grown much in the last couple of years, but after quadrupling in size over the past couple of decades, we feel like there's something for everyone in terms of what matters most to you and organizations that you might be interested in giving to. We launched our campaign in the fall. We always have, until this year, our big red envelope stuffing party. So the sort of hallmark of our campaign is the red envelope, which is mailed out to every Bainbridge Island household during the month of October. And we have so much fun at our stuffing party. It's at the Filipino American Hall, and we get together representatives, and Sheila's been there, and volunteers from all the organizations and community members to come and stuff envelopes. That's
over 10,000 envelopes get stuffed.
Yeah. So Yeah, a fun statistic, a couple of years ago, our campaign raised $1.3 million that year. We happened to have 13,000 envelopes that we stuffed, and we had 130 volunteers who were there stuffing envelopes over the course of just a couple of hours. And so that actually meant that every single one of these envelopes meant $100 in the community. Even, you know, the large number of them that are still sitting in my office and ones that get recycled at the post office, etc. Each one worth $100, and every volunteer who came was worth $10,000 in contributions to our community. So it's just like pretty phenomenal symmetry there. So obviously with COVID and restrictions on gatherings, we're not going to have our stuffing party this year, but Jon can attest to this. It's often, it's like old home week. There's always a lot of hugs and a lot of chats and a lot of checking in and a lot of folks who are talking about their organization and getting excited about their organization. And typically the people who come to volunteer are also good donors to their organization that they're representing, and also others on the island. So it's kind of a nice schmoozing and fundraising opportunity for folks, and very disappointed to know that this year we're going to have machines stuffing our envelopes, but they still go out in the mail.
A quick point about that. Almost every year someone asks me, why don't you have them stuffed at the printery who does it? You know, it would only be a few $100s extra. The value to having people participate is just far greater than the money we would save, because we get buy-in from all the organizations on the island. You connect people that need to meet each other or want to meet each other or see them. I've been to, I think, 12 or 13 stuffings. I still think I haven't stuffed an envelope yet.
No, John's holding steady with that record.
I set up lots of chairs and tables. I carry stuff around. You know, I fetch gallons of coffee and pastries and stuff like that. But I just like it because there's just a lot of people to talk to, and they're all committed to the community. So it's actually one of my most fun mornings of the year, and I'll be sorry to miss it this year. So.
Yeah, I am too. So the red envelope is one way that folks give through to One Call for All, to their favorite charities. Included in the red envelope is this little number, which is probably familiar to a lot of you. This is the donation form, and it lists all of the organizations that are participating. And so people can sit at home with their family on their own and think about everything that matters most to them, choose which organizations and how much, and folks can use this form to either send in a check, a total up, send in a check, or you can also put your credit card information here and send it in, and we'll process the credit card here. So that's one way. And over the last several years, as many of you are aware, we have also really expanded the opportunities to give, not just during the active phase of our campaign in the fall and through the red envelope, but actually online throughout the year. So another way that folks can give is to one, if they have a particular organization that they want to give to directly to one organization, they can use these envelopes, and these are on site at the senior center all the time. I throughout the year we get them regularly from you all, and you can use this envelope to either put a check or cash in and mail it. You can also leave it with the senior center, and Mary or Reed will bring it over to me or mail it to me. You can also enter your credit card information on this form, and we can process a credit card. And then of course, it's, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, you can give to the senior center or to all the nonprofits that you like through a credit card online or PayPal online. So lots of, expanded and creative ways to give. And every organization that participates, they have the choice if they want to just, have their name in here, maybe put the red envelope on their website to collect donations that way, and kind of passively accept the donations, or they can take a more active role. And that's something the Senior Center has done an amazing job with, especially since Reed has started, where pretty much most of the donations, if you go to the website for the Senior Center to click donate, it's going to give you the option to go straight to the One Call for All site. And the reason that that is helpful to the organization is because we pay all the credit card fees. We, meaning our tiny organization, One Call for All. So when you give through One Call for All to the Senior Center, they earn a share in our community fund, plus they pay no fees or expenses related to fundraising. So it's kind of a double benefit. And we just happened to, Jon signed it. His mother-in-law helped stuff the envelopes. We just sent the check with the community fund distribution about a week ago to the Senior Center. So, it's a big benefit.
I grab a quick point, Tracy. So the
Absolutely.
One Call paying the credit card fees, I believe the fee that it costs us is 2.95%. So if you were to give $100 directly to the Senior Center, they get 97. If you do 100 through One Call, because we fundraise to cover that expense, Senior Center gets $100. So it's an extra 3% if it's a credit card donation. That's a fairly sizable portion of our budget, which we've been meeting and exceeding every year for the last many years. And so that's part of our commitment, is that every dollar that gets contributed to an organization goes to it. So nothing that gets designated for the organization goes to overhead.
And, Jon said your organization gets $100. You actually get $103.90. So the shares of the community fund are based on the number of individual donations. So, and that share of the community fund happens even for a $20 donation. So those of you who give $20 a month through your credit card and a recurring gift, or actually there's a few people, none of you, because I know everybody's names, but there's a few donors who will actually mail a check every month. Every single donation, as long as it's $20 or more, earns the organization a share in the community fund. So this year, the community fund was $3 and something. And in some years, it's been as high as $9. It just depends on how many donors contribute to the community fund itself. That gets divided up and distributed at the end of the campaign year, which is, as I said, July 31st. So the other ways that we get money to the organizations, or the ways that donors can give, one is gifts of appreciated assets. So if you wanted to give a gift of stock, there's significant tax advantages to doing that, because the charity pays no tax on capital gains tax on that transaction. And it's a deduction for you. A lot of organizations will have their own brokerage account, and they'll be able to liquidate and get money straight to the cause that they care about. But with One Call for All, we will take care of all that business, and we will acknowledge the gift. We can also, you can divide it up among as many organizations as you like. So if you're making a significant gift, and and this is something that folks have done, they give a gift of stock and they say, well, I'd like 5,000 of this to go to the Senior Center, and then I'd like $100 each to these 100 different organizations. So that's a pretty unique advantage. And we raise about $75,000 or $100,000 through stocks, donations of appreciated assets. And then the other thing that I want to mention, which is becoming increasingly popular, is giving your RMD, if you have an IRA and you have a required minimum distribution. If you give that to charity, there are tax advantages to that. So, and if you want to give that to any particular charity, you can give it straight to the Senior Center. But if you wanted to give it through One Call for All, you can divide it up among as many agencies as you'd like, rather than having your IRA administrator cut a separate check to every single organization that you'd like to give to. You can just give one check to One Call for All, and we'll distribute it accordingly. And all of those gifts, whether it's credit card, check, recurring donation, stock gift, IRA, RMD, they all earn the organization a share in your community fund and come at no cost to that organization. Jon made mention of the credit card fees. So that's an increasingly large portion of our budget, one that we're absolutely committed. And when we say our organization, we have a tiny organization. Our whole mission is to raise money for all of the other organizations, but we are also a nonprofit. And our nonprofit has had about the same amount operating budget. We've been under $100,000 per year to run this entire campaign, and we've had that same budget since 2007. Just anywhere between, in 2007, our budget was $90,000. This year for 2020, it's 98. And we're able to, increasingly do more for our agencies, pay more in credit card fees. Actually, that original 90,000 did not cover credit card fees. Credit card fees used to be taken out of the community fund until just a few years ago. So anyway, we're pretty proud of the fact that we can raise an increasing amount of money every year for an increasing number of agencies, and we can do it efficiently and kind of on the cheap. So we're pretty proud of that. We have these statistics that I'd love to share with you, and they're pretty phenomenal. So it looks like everybody's sitting down. I want to make sure you are. So in a typical year, about 8 years ago, we reached $1 million. We raised $1 million for the organizations that participate. And every year we increase by about $100,000. So 5 years ago, the first year that I was around was 1.1, and then we went 1.2, and then the next year 1.3. Last year we raised 1.5 million for the agencies on our Serve Bainbridge, and we were extremely proud of that. It was unprecedented number. And does anybody want to take a guess at what our total for the campaign was this year?
Oh boy.
Not you, John.
Yeah. 1.1? I don't know.
Anybody else? It's higher.
2 million.
You're close. That's
1.8.
those, yeah. 1.8 would be phenomenal. 2.0 would be phenomenal. But I'm here to tell you our total raise for the organizations on Bainbridge Island is $2,168,239.64.
Amazing.
So that is a phenomenal representation of what our nonprofit, the good work of our nonprofits in our community. We live in a very generous place, and the organizations that serve our island are doing exceptional work and inspiring work. Typically, we did raise 1.8 million. Our January distribution was a pretty phenomenal number and off the charts. And typically in the spring, we see very few donations come in. There's sometimes, maybe a stock gift or a more complicated gift, a donor advised fund or something that'll, they'll come trickling in. And then the recurring donations that everyone does on their credit cards keep coming in throughout the spring. But as a result of COVID, we were raising giant amounts of money every month. A lot of it to the organizations that you would typically imagine that were suffering as a result of increased demand, like Helpline, IVC, HRB, Housing Resources Bainbridge. But also, I was really heartened to learn that people really care about the arts. People really care about the senior center. People were really wanting to take care of these nonprofits, many of which, absolutely rely on donations in order to survive. Also, a lot of the organizations, for instance, BPA is Bainbridge Performing Arts, they continued paying their staff, even though they're not able to, and they don't really actually know the future of live performances. A lot of innovation is happening on the island, and you all are a prime example. We were chatting earlier, Carolyn and I, about how you've really expanded your reach. These kinds of events would be possible for only a small group, even if, in the non-COVID age. And it's pretty impressive how innovative and creative you all have been to just keep people connected and keep supporting each other and keep learning new things and all the great stuff that you do. So anyway, kudos to you. And
Tracey?
yes.
Do you have any historical information on how much money has been given to the senior center over the last few years? You had mentioned that the amount went up. I'd be curious if you have that handy, what the amount is and the number of donors.
Well, Reed just jumped on. I can actually look it up pretty easily on my computer, but I believe it was $55,000 for this campaign.
The 2019, 2020.
Yeah, that just ended.
This year we got 52,000 and change.
Excellent. Any idea?
Which is up significantly from last year, but I don't have last year's numbers.
Okay. I'm running the report. It takes
thank you.
The report that I can run. It actually calculates as far back as 2003, the data, and it actually is here digging through every single donation and every single designation.
So I have 2018, 2019 was 42,000. 34,000 was the year 2017 to 2018.
Wow.
16,000 was 2016 to 2017. Of course, we made a big change in our operations. I think our average was somewhere around certainly under 20 for several years prior to us running our own operations. But yeah, there's been
fabulous,
a wonderful increase.
Yeah. So in 2003, we had 11,800. Then the next year, 13,000. 14,000, 14,000 again. Now we're up to 2017 or 2007, 17,000, then 16, 17, 17, 17, 17, 19, 16, 17. Now we're up to 2016 and it's 16 again. And then new business model, 2017, 32, 40, and then 55 this year.
Fantastic. That's
great. That's really great.
And there's also a commensurate increase in the number of individual donations. So this year it was 523 individual donations that made up for that 55,000.
That's either a lot more interest or we're all getting older.
Well, I think it's wonderful leadership. Reed and Mary and people have said on the board, amazing people. I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, and of course, how much I love One Call for All. So, yeah.
I am so honored to be a part of the Senior Center, and I'm so glad to hear those numbers. I'm not at all surprised. I must admit, I'm not at all surprised, because every time I hear anything in this community, I hear about the Senior Center. Of course, I talk it up as well. I'm just so honored to be a part of it. I could tear up. I will. I am.
Yeah. Sheila's on the marketing committee too, so she's out there, with the big bullhorn, letting everybody know about the Senior Center. So she's.
I feel as though one of the things that has been a challenge for us in letting newcomers know about the wonderfulness of One Call for All as a homegrown and tailored to the nonprofits on Bainbridge Island, and the kinds of things that Tracey has just been talking about. So definitely we see a lot of seniors who move here, so I'm happy to let them learn about One Call for All as part of their learning about Bainbridge.
Yeah, and that's something we appreciate too, Reed, because the average donor gives to 7 to 9 organizations. And so when you meet someone at the Senior Center and you introduce them to the concept of One Call for All, they're likely to give to the Senior Center that way, but they're also, it's an opportunity for them to see all the other good work that happens on the island and get inspired to give to some other organizations. I also think that this is a worthwhile tool. Part of our red envelope includes descriptions of all of the nonprofits and all of the good work that they do. And this on its own, not just as fundraising, but this for anyone of any age that is moving to the island, to be able to have this kind of, just sort of resource, which prior to you all putting together the BIRD, didn't really exist in any one place. So anyway, that's you all are doing amazing work, and we, you know, Sheila, when you said you're just so proud to be a part of it, we feel that way about all of the good work in all of the organizations. So it's, you know, I have a job history that includes only 2 other organizations. I tend to stick around, and One Call for All, when this opportunity came up for me, was the perfect fit, because I feel like I couldn't commit to one organization for what could be 10 years of my life and career, but One Call for All allows me to feel like I'm doing work and participating in some way in the work of a lot of incredible organizations. So very happy to be affiliated and with you all, and happy to be of service to you all as well.
And I will say one thing about that. You are a great resource for people like myself who are novice executive directors who come and start to work in an organization. And you do brown bags on a regular basis that allow people who are coming into the nonprofit community to meet each other and to learn about how to do their jobs, and to learn how we can help each other as directors of different organizations work together. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we're proud to be able to, you know, set the table for that. And actually, coincidentally, with what we were talking about before, about how the Senior Center has really been able to expand their reach by offering, you know, these electronic opportunities to connect. We typically have, Reed mentioned our brown bag lunches. We do that once a month, once every other month. And, you know, usually we have about 10 people around the table. We have them here in the Marge Williams Center. And with COVID and moving to Zoom, we have had as many as 40 people attending our brown bag lunch.
Wow.
And, you know, part of it, we try to have a topic where we're learning something. And it's not like an expert. Sometimes I have guest speakers, but it's not typically an expert. Here's how you do this part of nonprofit fundraising. We talk about One Call for All. Here's how to do that well. But typically, it's sort of mining the collective wisdom in the room. And so, you know, a lot of it, the side conversations, and I think this is probably true for Reed too, the side conversations are just an absolute treasure trove of connection and innovation. And there's not a lot of opportunities for us to take a break from our work of running organizations and providing services to be able to talk about what are the possibilities for collaboration. And, you know, the resource directory is, you know, exactly that kind of a thing. We're happy to have been, you know, happy to be a connector of nonprofits, not just raising money. We also want people to learn about best practices and also find out what each other are doing. The executive director of Bainbridge Prepares, the former executive director, Scott James, created, I don't remember which organization it was, but he like changed the path of Bainbridge Prepares as a result of a connection that he made with another board member or paid staff person from another organization. And he speaks quite eloquently about that, better than me. I have a couple more numbers if you're interested in having your socks knocked off.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the number that I said you all, I think I said you had 500 something individual donations. That means, you know, for folks who gave just to Senior Center, that counts as one. For folks who gave to 50 different organizations, that counts as one if it included the Senior Center. So that total number of designations is, I think, a really useful metric to consider. And this year, we had 14,181 individual donations to charities on Bainbridge, which is more than ever before. We had $655,000 in credit card gifts, and $57,000 in credit cards by mail. So when someone fills out this form and writes their credit card number on it, we process it here in the office. We had $268,000 in stock donations or appreciated assets of some sort. We had 2,955 individual donations. That was up 500 from last year, which was, had been a record prior to that. And we had, the number of recurring donations, 732. So it's pretty phenomenal community we live in, and pretty phenomenal work that you all are doing that folks are excited to support.
Absolutely. Boy, amazing numbers.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much it had increased since I had been on the board, and it's just exponential. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
So our response rate on the number of envelopes we send out, Tracey, correct me if I'm wrong, is about 15%, 16% of the community participates, which I've been on the board 12 years, and we haven't budged much higher than that. We've had some floating up and down, and it's an endless discussion of how do we get more people to participate. When you talk to a direct mail person, we always think it's only 15%. You talk to a direct mail person, they'd be chomping at the bit to have a response. Think of if 1 in 6 catalogs that landed at your house you bought something from, you'd be getting a lot more catalogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's pretty impressive that we just drop something in the mail and then people send money back. It's a pretty amazing system.
I had heard one time that if you get 3% of a mail-in out of a mail thing, you're doing well. 3%.
That'd be huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be huge. And look what we've got. This is amazing. The only thing I want to complain about, and that's okay because I can't do anything about it, because of the COVID and so on and so forth, is I'm going to miss that stuffing of the envelope, and I'm not going to be happy about that machine. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's one change that won't stick around.
No, we will get back to, and I want to have some kind of celebration so that we can get, the work will not get done in a gathering, but when COVID is over, I'd like to have some sort of event that just celebrates all of us and our good work and gives us a chance to connect and be inspired someday.
Yes, as Ruth Flanagan, who is the editor of the Splash, our communication device, wrote last month, when this is all over, we are throwing the biggest St. Patrick's Easter Day Mayo of July party anyone has ever seen. And I'll attend as many of those as necessary.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I was going to tell you another part of our campaign that hopefully will still happen regardless. The last Friday of the month, the Bainbridge Review comes to your mailbox. So even if you're not a subscriber, this insert is that usually features several organizations, and it has a couple of, it has opportunities for you all. I don't know, has the Senior Center put ads in this?
Yes.
It's later, the red envelope comes mid-October, and then this comes the last Friday in October typically. And there's even a page that replicates that donor form that I showed you, so that you can tear it out and send it in. I can't find it easily here, but this is where all the donors are recognized. This is the only public way that we recognize all the donors is printing their names in this. But, oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Recognize that guy?
I do.
Yeah. So, and we always have a theme every year. And this past year, was each one plus one. We were encouraging our donors to choose an extra organization to give to. And that the number, we set a goal. Our wonderful board member, Chris Hoots Thomas, suggested that we set a goal of increasing the number of designations by 10%. And that was insane. I mean, I was like, it's great to have a great, pie in the sky kind of a goal, but we're never going to get there. Well, that goal was 14,191. And we're just 10 designations short. And since the average donor gives to 7 to 9 organizations, it really, like, one more donor, we would have been there. And it was,
we're going to have a recount because there was some fraudulent ballots.
yeah. I don't think any of you want to challenge the legitimacy of the checks that got mailed out to your organization, though. So let's just deposit those quickly. And
what an incredible community we have, and I just want to thank you all for being part of it, and the treasure of our senior center. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And one call for all. Tracey and Jon, we just can't thank you enough. And your presentation today was just mind blowing, to be quite honest with you. Those numbers were stunning.